Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to take you through a typical morning of mine. Not the kind you see on Instagram with frothy lattes or rooftop yoga. This is a Tuesday morning when my head is packed with jet engine blueprints, Tesla data charts, and a lingering anxiety about whether I'll be able to sleep tomorrow. If you enjoy this, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. I wake up at 6 a.m. No alarm, no phone buzz. My body seems to be programmed like a SpaceX device. On time, precise, and slightly annoyed on weekends. Funny thing is, I sleep little, but dream a lot. Sometimes in my dreams, I'm floating in orbit, and when I wake up, the only thing floating is my hair, because I toss and turn like a malfunctioning satellite. The first thing I do after opening my eyes isn't checking emails or messages from engineers. I brush my teeth. Sounds ordinary, but actually, it's the only 3 minutes in the day when I don't have to make a decision. I stand still, look in the mirror, and focus on one thing: surviving the toothpaste that tastes like mint mixed with solar panels. In that moment, my mind is as light as space. And if any guardian angel is watching over me, they're probably sighing in relief, too. People often imagine I jump out of bed and immediately tackle some factory explosion. No, the truth is, I spend 20 minutes just pacing around the room, thinking aimlessly. One time, I came up with a new rocket engine design while, tying my shoelaces. Morning mindset to me is like adjusting a satellite's antenna. If you point it in the right direction, the whole day gets good signal. I don't eat breakfast like a normal person. No toast, no cereal, no avocado. Instead, it's a cup of pitch black coffee, the kind that could wake a polar bear mid-hibernation. I drink it alone, in silence, staring out the window as if recalculating the entire universe. That quiet is worth more than any million-dollar contract. There's something odd I rarely talk about. I always carry a small stone in my pocket in the morning. Smooth, gray, nothing special, but it reminds me that even if my mind reaches Mars, my feet still need to touch the ground. Maybe that's my strangest habit. Or maybe it's the time I wrote a few lines of code just to make the coffee machine start brewing the moment I step out of the shower. Historians still debate whether humans can truly program their habits. I believe, yes, but only if you know exactly what you're coding into your mind each morning. A habit isn't a pattern, it's a lever, the foundation of a mental rocket. And for me, a perfect morning doesn't need to start with absolute order. Sometimes it begins with stepping on a Lego and realizing, all right, I'm still living on Earth.
I have a time management system that might sound self-torturous at first. I divide my day into 5-minute blocks. Not 15, not 10. Exactly 5. Why? Because 5 minutes is enough to get a small task done, and not enough to make excuses. Each 5-minute slot is like a soldier in my brain, not allowed to stand still, not allowed to slack off, and most importantly, not allowed to complain. One time, an assistant asked me, "Don't you feel stressed switching tasks every 5 minutes?" I looked at her and said, "Stress comes from not knowing what to do next, not from doing too much." People often dream of a work-life balance, as if it's a seesaw. For me, I spin like a gyroscope, constantly, sharply, and if I stop, I might just fall asleep. A typical morning for me, after completing my toothbrushing ritual and quiet coffee moment, starts by opening the list of time blocks I scheduled the night before. Each block contains just one line: Starship team meeting, review financial report, reply to NASA emails, or simply wonder if I'm over-inventing. I spend about 4 hours in the morning doing high-focus intellectual work, and I absolutely do not eat while working. I never let emotions interfere with meals. Lunch is something I treat with the same respect as an engine design. Simple, efficient, no lingering. One time, I was eating a sandwich when an engineer brought in an emergency project plan. I said, "Wait 3 minutes, let me finish chewing." That might be the strangest part of my workday, that I could delay a strategic meeting just to avoid choking. Many people think I'm multitasking. The truth is I'm single-tasking, but ultra-fast. These 5-minute blocks don't allow for distractions. If I'm reviewing the budget for a Mars refueling station, I'm not reading the news. If I'm responding to a Tesla door design, I'm not letting my mind drift to the year 2089. Everything has its own slot. And thanks to that, I feel like I have control over time, something most of us let slip away like water. A strange detail? I have a clock that doesn't show time. It only displays 288 faintly glowing squares, each representing a 5-minute block of the day. When one goes dark, it means that time has passed. I call it the honeycomb clock. It looks like a weird gadget from a sci-fi movie, and as expected, nobody understands it but me. A common experience we all share, getting your whole day eaten up by time. You know, like waking up to run an errand and realizing by evening that nothing else got done. I'm different. I look at the honeycomb clock and know exactly how many cells I used, which ones were wasted, and which ones sparked breakthroughs. That gives me the feeling, at the very least, that I'm not wasting my life. I once tried living without time segmentation. For 1 week, I left my schedule blank, no planning. The result? I played video games for over 12 hours, nodded off during Zoom meetings, and didn't realize until day 5 that I hadn't changed pants. Historians still debate whether modern humans should structure every hour or live freely by emotion. I believe the brain is an engine. It works best when it's fueled and has a dashboard. Of course, sometimes the system crashes. There are days when I spend an entire 5-minute block just staring out the window, wondering whether humanity is worth saving. But then I snap out of it and move on to the next block. Call satellite team. Because at the end of the day, I still have 100 engineers on the other end of the line waiting for their paycheck.
I know what you're thinking. If I follow a strict routine down to every 5-minute block, doesn't that make me a robot? But actually, my survival secret lies in the opposite. I break the routine to keep the routine. Sounds paradoxical? Imagine you're piloting a spacecraft. Everything must be precisely aligned, but if you don't make constant micro-adjustments, that ship could drift millions of kilometers off course. A schedule is the same. It has to be stable, yet flexible enough to prevent your mind from going numb. I deliberately change small details in my day for no reason other than fun. For example, some mornings I drink my coffee with my left hand instead of my right. Sounds stupid? Maybe, but my brain notices. It flinches, becomes alert, starts asking, what's going on? And the moment the brain starts asking questions, it starts coming alive again. Sometimes I wear mismatched socks to the office, one black, one blue. No one says anything. They probably think it's a deep metaphor about intentional asymmetry in space design. Truth is, I just want to see if anyone notices. Spoiler, no one does, or they're too afraid to ask. I once read a study on controlled randomness, that small variations in habit can activate the brain's creative zones, like a fine wine or a jazz solo during office hours. Scientists still debate whether good habits should be rigid or flexible. To me, the answer lies somewhere in the middle, like a heart rate monitor. If it's a flat line, you're dead. A shared human experience? Doing the same thing over and over and feeling stuck in a boring loop. Routine becomes a cage, but I don't let myself be imprisoned. I unlock it with little pranks, like sending my CFO an email that's just a single emoji, or replying to texts in Morse code. Sometimes I sign contracts in purple ink.
These tiny things don't hurt performance, but they make the day breathable. There was a time I sat alone at 2 a.m., half asleep, rewriting my entire schedule just because something felt off. And yes, I discovered I had scheduled 3 consecutive blocks for meetings with no space for creativity. So I swapped one for 5 minutes of cloud watching and another for folding origami from sticky notes. That day, I came up with a new door mechanism for electric cars, 12% lighter. A quirky detail? I have a little ritual called Flip Day. Once a month, I reverse the order of the day. Eat dinner in the morning, listen to old school rap during meditation, sleep in the sauna. Everything is upside down, and in that chaos, I often find calm, like shaking a snow globe just to see the flakes fall. Only then do you see the scene inside clearly. I know. This sounds like a psychological experiment. But when you're running both a rocket company and a car company, you need a built-in system to prevent mental detonation. Breaking small habits is how I cool down my brain. The big question is, how can someone stick to a strict schedule without becoming rigid or emotionless? I don't have a perfect answer, but I do know this. The difference between burnout and creativity is the ability to play with your own system. Like how I play with time, with coffee, with sock colors. And in the end, whether you're a startup founder, a songwriter, or just someone trying to wake up 10 minutes earlier each day, the lesson is the same. Good habits are tools, but controlled playfulness is the art. Just as a rocket needs fuel to fly, the mind needs small pivots to stay on course.